Well, hello, fellow internet traveler. So glad you landed here. If this is your first stop, make sure to subscribe and share this video with someone you think would love it too. And tell me, where are you tuning in from? I genuinely love reading all your locations. Let's set off on this journey. My name is Dennis. I'm 40 now, and I've always gravitated towards simplicity. I work in tech support, where problems are logical, solutions are methodical, and everything follows a predictable pattern. For years, my marriage to Ashley reflected that same kind of stability. We'd spent 10 years together, and I truly believed we'd built something steady. Our life was quiet, lazy weekends, occasional getaways, and a routine that suited us both. But eventually, things began to shift, subtly at first. Ashley started putting in longer hours at work. I assumed it was part of her drive to succeed. She'd always had ambition, and I respected that. But then came the phone calls. She'd step outside to answer them, her voice barely audible whenever I walked in. Once I casually asked who it was. She brushed it off, mumbling something vague about a work issue. Still, it gnawed at me. A quiet distance had taken root between us, nothing obvious but deeply felt. Even her touch had changed, colder, more detached. I kept telling myself I was being paranoid, but deep down I knew something wasn't right. Then came the Friday that shattered the illusion. I left work a few hours early thinking I'd surprise her. What I found instead left me speechless. As I stepped into the house, I saw them, Ashley and a man I'd never met, sitting on our couch. Too close, too comfortable. He was about my age, wearing a tailored suit and radiating self-assurance. There was no guilt in his eyes, just entitlement, as if he already belonged there. I froze in the doorway, every instinct on high alert. Part of me wanted to scream, to demand an explanation. But I didn't move. I didn't say a word. I turned around, walked out, and shut the door behind me. Ashley came running after me, voice shaky, stumbling over her words. But I didn't let her finish. "Leave," I said firmly. "Both of you. Now." They obeyed. I stood there for a long time afterward, in the quiet wreckage of what used to be my life. It didn't feel real. The days that followed blurred together. I was numb, but I held it together. I didn't reach out to her. I didn't seek explanations. She'd shown me who she was, and that was enough. 2 days later, she called. I was sitting in the living room, doing nothing in particular, when her name lit up my screen. I didn't answer. She called again, then again. On the fourth attempt, I finally picked up. "Dennis, please," she said, her voice trembling. "It's not what you think. I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to happen. I've just been confused lately." I stayed silent, letting her talk. Every word felt like salt in an open wound. She said I'd grown distant, that she'd felt isolated for months, that Max had been a comfort, someone who just happened to be there. She was trying to make sense of it all, to dress it up in excuses. But none of it landed. It all felt hollow. Oddly enough, I wasn't angry. Something inside me had already let go. Seeing her with him, that had snapped something loose in me. I wasn't the same anymore. "I don't want to hear this, Ashley," I said flatly. "You made your decision. I'm not interested in your justifications." She paused, her breath catching. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. "Dennis, please don't leave me." The audacity of it nearly stunned me. After everything, she still thought she could ask that? I didn't yell, I didn't waver. "I don't want you here anymore," I said. "Pack your things. We're finished." She didn't argue this time. The line went dead without a word. I didn't feel anything, not anger, not regret. Deep inside, though, I knew this wasn't the finish line. This was just the opening move in a longer, more complicated battle. The betrayal itself was damaging, but the fallout was only beginning. A few days later, I found myself standing in the yard, trying to calm the chaos in my head. That's when a polished black Audi pulled up to the curb. Max stepped out like he owned the place. A jolt of rage hit me, but I kept it buried. He wasn't going to provoke a reaction, not from me. He sauntered up the walkway with the air of someone doing me a favor. Relaxed, entitled, like this was his domain now. I stood still, unmoving as he approached. "We need to have a conversation," he said, smooth and overconfident. I stayed silent, giving him nothing but a long stare. He sized me up, clearly amused by his own presence. "Look," he said with a smug grin. Ashley told me things haven't been great between you two. It happens, right? Relationships lose their spark. He shrugged casually. She just wants to be happy, and now she's found that with me. I still didn't speak. He didn't deserve a reaction. Then he stepped in a little closer, his voice dropping low, meant to feel like a warning. This is how it plays out, he said, his tone turning sharp. You signed the divorce papers. No games, no courtrooms. Stay out of her finances. Walk away, and it's clean. She's been through hell already, and frankly, so have I. He let the silence stretch, as if daring me to push back. Then he leaned in even more, his voice cutting. But if you turn this into a mess, he said coldly, I've got connections. People who can make your life very, very difficult. Understand? The heat inside me surged, but I didn't let it surface. I held his gaze, then calmly stepped back, turned my back to him, and walked into the house. Behind me, he shouted, Coward! I didn't stop. I didn't even flinch. Inside, my pulse was pounding, but my mind had never been sharper. Max wasn't going to scare me. He wouldn't get the final word, not here, not now. If anything, his little stunt clarified everything. There would be no peaceful resolution. It was time to take control. I wasn't going to let threats dictate my next move, and Ashley wasn't going to manipulate the outcome without resistance. I acted immediately. The next morning, I called Kevin, my lawyer. He'd handled some of my legal affairs in the past, but this was another level entirely. This time, I needed strategy, not just support. Kevin listened closely as I explained everything. We need to be smart, he said firmly. Max is trying to shake you. Don't fall for it. Let me manage the legal side. Your job is to document everything. Calls, messages, face-to-face encounters. All of it. I promised him I would. This wasn't about a broken relationship anymore. It was about standing tall. About making it clear that I wouldn't be walked over. Kevin said he'd initiate a report with law enforcement and advised me to set up surveillance on the property. I followed his guidance to the letter. In the days that followed, I began keeping meticulous records. Any contact, texts, calls, visits went into my log. Nothing was left undocumented. But the toughest part wasn't the logistics. It was the emotional strain of feeling backed into a corner. That sensation gnawed at me. Still, with every step, I felt the balance shift. Bit by bit, I was reclaiming control. And with each passing day, I felt myself getting stronger. I wasn't about to let Max walk away with the upper hand. That night, seated alone under the faint flicker of the living room light, I combed through the camera recordings. It hit me how much I'd changed in just a few days. The man who'd walked out wasn't the same man watching these clips. He was gone. In his place stood someone focused, someone with a plan and the will to carry it out. The legal process was already in motion, but Ashley hadn't let go. Over the following days, her calls kept coming, each one more pleading than the last, her voice laced with desperation, begging for a second chance. She wanted us to rebuild what had been broken. But I was done pretending. There was nothing left to fix. One evening, her voice came through in a voicemail. Dennis, she said softly, her tone teetering on the edge of panic. Please don't make this worse than it already is. I know I screwed up, but tearing everything down doesn't help anyone. I don't want to lose you. I listened once, that was enough. Then I erased it. I wasn't going to let her drag me into an emotional tug of war. She'd made her choice, and now she had to face the consequences. But things didn't quiet down, they only got messier. News traveled fast. Some of our mutual friends picked sides. A few stayed loyal to me, while others rallied behind her. Greg, someone we'd both trusted for years, decided to intervene. Dennis, I know you're hurting, he said during one call. But step back for a second. People make mistakes. Ashley was going through a rough patch. Max just happened to be there. Are you really going to throw away everything you two built because of one misstep? My chest tightened at his words. This isn't about someone slipping up, I said coldly. It's about betrayal. What they did can't be undone, and I'm not interested in pretending it can be. He kept pressing, trying to get me to bend, but I cut the conversation short. I wasn't looking for sympathy or moral lectures. I needed focus, and I had it. No more doubts. Max and Ashley had made their decisions. Now they could live with them. Still, Max wasn't finished. A few days later, he called again, this time with a much sharper edge in his voice. "You think this is over?" he growled. "You're poking a hornet's nest, Dennis. You want your life blown apart just to prove some point? You have no idea what I'm capable of." I didn't blink. "I'm not scared of you, Max," I replied, my voice calm and unwavering. "You've already caused enough damage. If you didn't want fallout, you should have thought twice before threatening me." I ended the call without hesitation. No second guessing, no doubt. He wasn't going to intimidate me. Whatever this was, I was already neck deep in it, and I wasn't backing away. Then things escalated again. Max filed for a restraining order, accusing me of stalking him. The claim was ridiculous. His lawyer even brought forward a grainy photo of my car, supposedly parked near Max's apartment. But the timestamp told a different story. I'd been at the office all day, nowhere near him. Truth didn't matter to Max. He wasn't looking for justice. He just wanted to trap me, force me onto the defensive. As soon as I finished reading the court notice, I called Kevin. "This is unbelievable," I said. "I was at work the entire day. I've got GPS data, and my team can confirm my schedule." Kevin's voice was steady and sure. "We'll get the GPS logs from your car insurance. Let them try to twist the story. It won't stick. We've got irrefutable proof. They're bluffing." A wave of confidence settled over me. Max wasn't going to manipulate the narrative this time. Not again. The morning of the court hearing dawned, and with it came that all-too-familiar tension pressing against my chest. Across the aisle, Max and Ashley sat close together, their faces smug with barely masked satisfaction. I kept my gaze locked ahead, unwilling to grant them even the slightest glimpse of emotion. Max's lawyer stood first, exuding confidence as he presented what they claimed was damning evidence. Raising a photograph for the judge to see, he pointed it out dramatically. "Your Honor, this image places Mr. Dennis in the vicinity of my client's home. We believe it reflects a repeated pattern of harassment." The judge examined the photograph with a sharp eye, then turned to me with a piercing look. "Mr. Dennis, how do you respond to these claims?" she asked. I stood calmly, inhaled deeply, and answered with composure. "That picture proves nothing. I wasn't anywhere near that location. My car was parked in the garage beneath my office, and I have GPS records to verify that. In addition, I possess written declarations from colleagues confirming that I spent the entire afternoon in a scheduled meeting." Kevin approached the bench and handed over the official GPS documentation. The judge flipped through the pages, carefully reviewing each detail. An uneasy silence fell over the room. Max's attorney tried to push back, but stumbled, unable to refute the evidence. Their argument was rapidly losing credibility. The color drained from Max's face. His previous bravado completely vanished. His lips moved as if searching for words, but nothing came. "Petition denied," the judge announced. "This matter is being referred to the district attorney for review of potential perjury and filing a false report." The courtroom sank into stunned stillness. A wave of relief passed through me. Max had tried to bury me under fabricated claims, but the truth had held its ground. While the legal process wasn't yet over, the momentum had clearly shifted. Max's web of deceit had unraveled before everyone's eyes. First came a suspension from his job, then, as the criminal case advanced, they fired him. Ironically, the very moral conduct clause he once boasted about became the reason for his dismissal. His polished image crumbled quickly. Within a few weeks, mutual acquaintances began whispering Max couldn't even land a job interview. His prized luxury vehicle and the upscale apartment he flaunted so proudly, gone, repossessed. The facade he'd so carefully constructed was collapsing piece by piece. Ashley didn't walk away clean either. Her involvement in both the affair and the courtroom lies started catching up with her. Consequences came slowly, but they came. Friends drifted away. Her reputation took a sharp hit. At work, her name lost its former weight. To avoid harsher penalties, she enrolled in a diversion program, which cushioned the legal consequences. But the damage to her reputation was done. She and Max clung to each other a bit longer, desperately trying to salvage what was left. But relationships born of deception rarely survive scrutiny. Resentment brewed between them. Trust, if there had ever been any, dissolved completely. Eventually, Max, overwhelmed by lawsuits and his wrecked career, left. Ashley ended up living at her parents' house. It was a far cry from the life she must have imagined when she chose betrayal. She reached out to me again. I ignored her. There was nothing left to discuss. The divorce was finalized. I retained the house. She walked away with far less than she'd expected. The judge had made her reasoning clear. Ashley's infidelity and perjury directly influenced the division of assets. She received no spousal support. Financially, the outcome was in my favor. In the months that followed, I focused on healing. I poured energy into my work. I reconnected with the friends who had stood by me during the chaos, and I found peace in the quiet rhythm of everyday life. One evening, I sat alone at the kitchen table, reflecting on everything that had happened. The betrayal, the fear, the courtroom battles, and it hit me. I wasn't the same man who had stumbled upon Ashley and Max that day. That moment had changed me. I had been tested in every possible way, and I emerged stronger, more grounded, and free. They believed they could break me, but I'd learned that real power doesn't always shout. Sometimes it simply waits, letting facts speak louder than emotion, letting time reveal everything. Now I was finally ready to move on. No more burdens, no more lies, just me, in control of my life and beholden to no one.